Benega Fallen for Boxing Social in association with Empire Fights, though on our Kings. Carl Frampton, we're in Ipswich, Fabio Wardley, Justis Huni. How tough a test is Justis going to pose to Fabio? Obviously coming in, relatively late replacement for Jarrell Miller, completely different style. Is this the toughest fight of Fabio Wardley's career?
Yeah, I think you have to say that. Look, people are saying it's a late notice fight for Justis, but it's not really. He's had 6 weeks, and I imagine he's someone who's keeps himself in shape in between fights as well. Completely different fight than the Jarrell Miller fight, so that wouldn't have been ideal for Fabio, having to adjust and reassess things in camp. But Justis Huni, I think Fabio wouldn't mind me saying, is probably a better boxer than him. You know, the long amateur pedigree that he has. He has fast hands as well, but this heavyweight division, a lot of the time the punchers succeed, and Fabio is a brute, can really punch, and he's getting better with each and every fight. It's mad that he's still probably a relative novice in terms of the years he's been in this game, but the whole story's been remarkable, and he's like he said on the stage, he's always in good fights.
You talked about Fabio's punching power there. Another narrative and factor that people are talking about is potentially Justis Huni's chin was rocked a few times by Kevin Lorena, who spent most of his career as a cruiserweight. You talk about Fabio's power. Do you think that could be the deciding factor, what happens when Fabio lands clean?
Look, yeah, I think so. I have a feeling that Fabio might be behind in this fight before he gets the knockout win, and I think Justis has enough about him to certainly win early rounds and nick rounds, and but I do see Fabio catching up with him at some point and hitting him. I mean, people are looking into the Lorena hurting him in the fight and saying, you know, a cruiserweight, but we've seen Lorena hurt Daniel Dubois, and look what Daniel Dubois is doing at the minute. So these big guys, when they land, they can all hurt each other, so I wouldn't be reading too much into that.
Would be remiss not to mention Stephen Ward. Now, him versus Mike Perez is not a fight many people would have believed would happen a few years ago. What do you make of Stephen's chances in there? Mike Perez, always known as, you know, one of the more talented fighters in the higher weight classes, but for one reason or another, career never really got any momentum.
Yeah, look, Stevie is a big underdog in the fight, and Stevie knows that himself, but Mike Perez is 39. He hasn't been that active, and the level of opposition recently he's been fighting hasn't been great either. So there is a point in your career where you're just not the fighter that you used to be, and I'm hoping for Stevie's sake that it's tomorrow night. But Stevie's not kidding himself. He knows it's a difficult fight, but he's going in there with no pressure on his shoulders. No one's expecting him to win the fight apart from him, his own team and the people around him. And I think he's a better chance than people are giving him credit for. If he avoids engaging early on and tries to get Mike Perez into the second half of the fight, then he has a chance, because Stevie lives the life, always fit, consummate professional, but that's easier said than done. Mike Perez is fabulous, like amazing to watch. I remember the kind of the hype about the 3 Cubans that came over, him and Luis Garcia, and there was maybe one other. Seems like forever ago, and they landed in Cork and they were in Belfast and training all over the country, but what a fighter, really good fighter. But like I said, he's 39 now.
Just away from Saturday night, we saw the news yesterday, Vasiliy Lomachenko hanging up the gloves, retiring as a world champion, which you don't see often. A lot of debate on social media about, you know, where does he rank in terms of, say, you know, modern greats and stuff. Obviously that incredible amateur record. Just what are your thoughts on his career, both amateur and pro? Obviously, as yourself, someone campaigned in and around his weight.
Well, he's a modern great. I haven't really seen too much debate. I'm not on social media much myself anymore, but if anyone's saying he's not, then they don't really know what they're talking about. Although if you look at his record, it probably doesn't look that pretty. I think it's like 18-3 or something like that. But he fought Orlando Sleda in the second fight for a world title. A lot of people thought he should have won that fight, didn't get the decision. I mean, if you look at the amateur stuff and what he done there as well, the guy is, I think personally, he's the most pleasing style on the eye to watch of any fighter I've ever seen, ever. Very, very unique style, different than anyone else. The guy's a bit of an enigma, and in my eyes, a living legend.
Just one other thing, what are your thoughts on, Carl? We're seeing all this debate over whether Boxer will get their deal renewed with Sky. And I spoke to Frank Smith yesterday to get a promoter's perspective, and I want to get a fighter's perspective too. If a promoter doesn't have a long-term TV agreement, is that a deal breaker for a fighter? Is there anything that can be done to override that, or is that just for a fighter, say, at the top level anyway?
No, well, for top fighters, yeah, people, you know, top fighters want to be on the TV, and with the TV you get the big money. That's where it comes from. So if Ben Shalom doesn't have something big in the works for him, you're going to have a lot of fighters looking to jump ship. to Dazn probably, because it's the only other place to be at the minute. So I don't know what's going to happen. I imagine he might have something up his sleeve. He's been speaking to different people on different networks, but but time will tell.
A couple more and let you go, Carl. What have you made of this whole Teofimo Lopez, Devin Haney debacle? Fight was on, it was off. Teo came out and apologised. We thought it was back on, and now it looks deader than it's ever been. It's
all about theatre, isn't it? I don't really know. I don't pay too much attention to all the nonsense that goes on, and fighters like to say things just for sound bites sometimes, but the bottom line is, if there's enough money on the table for the both guys to fight each other, then they'll fight.
Let's get back to the heavyweight division. Talk of a fight between Anthony Joshua and Jarrell Miller. You've probably not even seen this again because you're not on social media, but it is something that's gaining traction. Obviously, AJ rumoured to be signing a 3-fight deal with Turki Al Sheikh. What would your thoughts on that feed? Do you think Jarrell, at this stage of AJ's career and his own career, could pose a threat to Anthony?
Absolutely. Look, Jarrell Miller, love him or hate him. I'd imagine a lot of guys hate him because of the controversy with the failed drug test, but he's a good fighter, and he brings a different style than a lot of other heavyweights in terms of his size and his fitness and his engine. Tries to wear you out and make you work hard for every minute of the fight. And we've seen AJ kind of struggle with that aspect of his games before, but AJ's a huge puncher, isn't he? And with Miller's style coming forward and plodding forward, it will allow AJ to kind of tee him up and land something big. And tough fight for both guys, but if the fight does get made, I'd have to favour AJ in that fight slightly. But for the sake of boxing as well, I hope AJ wins. You know, a good, honest, clean pro against someone who isn't.
Last thing I want to get your thoughts on. I spoke to you in Glasgow pre-fight, didn't get to speak to you after. Moses Itauma's win over Mike Balogun. A lot of talk, a lot of speculation over who he's going to fight next. Names like Parker, Bacoli, Caballel are being floated about. Would that be sensible, or do you think he's good enough to make that sort of jump?
I think he is good enough, but I mean, the Bacoli one's a really strange one for me, because I'm thinking no one really wants to fight him. If Bacoli gets enough time and he's fit, he's going to give anybody problems. But it's kind of you beat a Bacoli and then what else after that? I think there's maybe safer options for him. I'm not saying that Moses wouldn't beat Bacoli. I think he probably would. He would go as a favourite, but it's just a fight that I don't think he needs right now. But I love Moses. I think he's a superstar in the making if he isn't already. He's getting better with each performance. He's still a grown man, really, which is mental. So proving with each fight, getting better in front of the camera as well. I think a superstar of the future.
Carl, always grateful for the time. We'll let you go. Thanks very much.